Okay, everyone, we're live again. So I'd like to introduce you to our two candidates for the Douglas County Clerk Treasurer's Office. We have Amy Bergens and we have Heather McDonald. And in the draw, Heather did win the draw to go first in the opening remarks. And ladies, if you remember, the opening remarks are for 1 minute. So go right ahead, Heather.
Great, thank you. Heather McDonald. So Clerk Treasurer, I want to start off, thank you. Thank you, Bobby, for moderating. Thank you, Mr. Settlemeyer. Thank you, Renee, and the Business Council, and the Chamber, and the Record Courier. This is an amazing event, and I'm proud to be attending it. And everyone that came, this is amazing. It's really great. So since I only have a minute, I'm going to get right down to business. We're going to talk experience. Okay, experience. That's what I have. I have 16 years in local government experience, 5 of those years as an elected elected city treasurer. I'm running for clerk treasurer as I have a passion for local government and doing the right thing. My dad is a chief of police where I grew up, and I have a very black and white personality. You're either doing it the right way or you're doing it the wrong way. There's no gray area in that. This 30 seconds thing is freaking me out. Okay. Red card. Thank you, guys.
Ms. Bergens.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Amy Bergens. I'm the current Douglas County Clerk Treasurer, and I too want to just thank everyone for attending, whether it's virtual or in person, and for everyone that participated in hosting this event. So I was appointed in December 2020 with a 5-0 vote by the Board of County Commissioners. During the last year and a half, I have completely reorganized my departments to include the clerk's office, the treasurer's office, and the elections office. I hired assistants for all 3 departments to ensure that the 3 run seamlessly and efficiently. In the process, I was able to save the county $20,000. I've also redistricted not only the Board of County Commissioners, but the school district and the East Fork Fire Protection District. It has been a busy year and a half of learning, being involved in the legislative session, implementing new legislation to improve or to ensure the highest integrity of the 3 departments, but especially elections. I am looking forward to continuing to serve the citizens of Douglas County for another 4 years.
And I'm sorry, your time's up.
Oh, sorry, I was not looking.
So remember to watch our timer. So we'll now go to our first question, and it will go to Ms. Bergens. So it's interesting that there's really no specific qualifications for this job. I find that fascinating. So what do you believe are some very good qualifications that you bring to it?
Thank you for the question. Well, I do have my bachelor's degree in business with a certificate in management. I was in the Army. I am a veteran, military police, and then I also worked for the police department prior to coming to Douglas County. While I worked for the police department, law was obviously a lot of what I did, but it wasn't just enforcing laws. It was also writing and implementing new ordinances that became city code. And I believe that a lot of what we do as the clerk treasurer is understanding the legislative process, understanding the laws that are coming down, whether it be elections, clerk, or treasurer's office, and understanding how to fairly implement those for the citizens of Douglas County.
Same question.
Oh, goody. So I've already talked about experience. 16 years. I've dedicated my career to local government. 5 of those years I was an elected city treasurer where I managed governmental funds. I managed employees. I ran budgets. I did everything that the treasurer's office, every facet of the treasurer's office. And because it was a small town, we also did multiple hats. So I was involved in risk management and HR. So I bring a lot to the table as far as that's concerned. The thing about the treasurer's office is that it's very unique and it has 3 different divisions in it. I have the knowledge and experience to not only manage these 3 divisions, but also lead them into a successful outcome.
Well, thank you both. Now, obviously, one of the important jobs for this position is the elections. So this question will go first to you, Heather.
Okay.
So do you favor electronic ballots, paper ballots, or something else? And what is your current experience with the electronic voting machines the county currently uses, and would you replace them?
So I have participated in several elections in Douglas County as a volunteer, and so I know what that process looks like. As far as replacing them, I think that that could definitely be a possibility. I think that's my job as a clerk treasurer to follow all statutory requirements, but as an elected official, it's also my job to do what my constituents want and to make sure that their vote counts and that their voting integrity is intact. So if that means going to paper ballots because that's what the citizens want, then I want to look into that as much as I possibly can to make that happen.
Bobby, do you mind repeating the question one more time?
Certainly. Do you favor electronic ballots, paper ballots, or something else? What is your current experience with the electronic voting machines the county currently uses, and would you replace them?
Okay, so I will start with favoring. I don't favor anything except for a process that streamlines the ability to have ethical elections for the citizens of Douglas County, and ensuring that I'm following all the Nevada revised statutes that the legislature puts in place, and ensuring that the citizens feel like they can trust the person holding the office to run those elections, and do it as fairly and transparently as possible. As for the second half of the question.
The current voting machines?
The current voting machines. So I have an intimate knowledge of them as we are currently setting them up and getting ready for the early voting to start on May 28th. So I have a very intimate knowledge of them as far as the system and the way that it works.
Thank you very much. Now, I know this question has been talked about quite a bit at many, many gatherings in this county. And it will go, of course, to Miss Amy first. What is your position on requiring ID to vote?
Is that for me first?
I'm sorry, it does go to you first,
Okay,
Amy.
just making sure. So I will tell you that as the clerk treasurer, I do not have the ability to implement voter ID. I do, however, know every candidate for Assembly and Senate, which should weigh a little bit in our favor when we hold the election and figure out who's going to be representing Douglas County. I have spoken with them, and I'm hopeful that they will contact me when legislation comes forward that will affect the elections, because as we've seen in the past, legislators don't necessarily write the laws implementable for the county clerk treasurer. So I would say that I have nothing against voter ID. I believe that I have to use an ID to get on an airplane, and I have to use an ID to go to the bar. So I have no issue with implementing it if that's the will of the people and the legislature moves forward with that as
Time's
a law.
up.
I mean, absolutely identification, voter ID. It's the way that we need to go. It's the way that our world is leading to, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we have to be in this position, but it is the way that we're headed. And I know that the legislative session runs on the off years of elections, so I'll spend whatever time I can at the legislative session working with that when we're not doing elections, trying to better improve the process that we have here in Douglas County.
Thank you. Now, we've talked several times now about the various things from the election side of the House, but going first to Ms. Heather, tell us about the treasurer side of this job and what are those duties?
The treasurer's side of the job. So the county treasury has about $138 million in it that needs to be managed. They would do that with a third-party consultant that invests the funds, so it's you looking at your return. Right now, with the inflation cycle that we're in and the bonds being so low, that's something that needs to be looked into on a regular basis to see if we're getting the correct return that we need to be to help our cash flow. The treasurer's office also collects red cards. It collects red cards.
Ms. Amy?
Thank you. So the treasurer's office is in charge. It's basically part of their responsibility is they are the bank for the county. Every day, various departments bring their cash and checks into the treasurer's office, and we collect it and reconcile daily to the penny. I have actually signed off on transfers of 12 cents to ensure that our accounts the money is going where it's supposed to. We also are in charge of sending out the property tax bills that the assessor assess it, and then red card.
And now it gets tougher. We're going to do some audience questions, which you only get 30 seconds to respond.
Ugh.
So the first one will go to Ms. Heather. I'm sorry, Ms. Amy.
Okay.
What qualities do you think make a good clerk treasurer?
The clerk treasurer really is a management. It's a manager's job. You have to be able to ensure that the people that you hire are doing their job and running their department smoothly, and that you are overseeing it correctly. So I think it's more about management and leadership, which I have a lot of experience between my military and law enforcement background.
Ms. Heather?
Well, it's an elected position, so you're there to serve the people and the constituents that you're in, but you also make sure that you have to follow all statutory requirements. So it's a thin rope that you have to walk, along with the managing and leading all three divisions that are in that office. So I would have an open door policy, transparency, in everything that I do.
And we'll have one more 30-second question, and then we'll go to the close. And this one's a fun one. Starting with Smith Heather. Why should voters elect you and not your opponent?
Because I am the most qualified candidate. I mean, I truly, really am. And elections are important. They need to be trusted. The Treasury is a huge responsibility and needs to be trusted. And I have the experience to do both those things.
Miss Amy?
Well, I would just say that Heather does talk about her experience. However, her experience as a treasurer was in Alturas, California, population 3,000, annual budget $6 million. It's not comparable to Douglas County, where I have successfully overseen the clerk treasurer's office for a year and a half and am in the process of implementing very fair, very transparent elections for the citizens. And as far as open door policy, I think half the people in this room know, because they have been in my office and sat down and asked the questions. I'm always available. I'm always willing to sit down and take the time with any and all of you.
Okay, we will now go to closing remarks, and remember, this is 1 minute and 30 seconds, and we'll reverse order from the start. So, Miss Amy, you'll be first.
Okay. So I just, again, want to thank everyone for coming. This is obviously nerve-wracking for those of us that are not career politicians and just want to go back to our office and sit and run an election. So I thank you for your graciousness tonight. I do want to say, coming into this position was an eye-opener. I had no idea how much the clerk treasurer does. However, in the last year and a half, I have figured out how to balance that. It's still a work in progress. I am just learning elections like crazy, and every legislative session, it's going to change, and I'm going to have to figure out how to implement that as fairly and as ethically and as transparently as possible for the citizens of Douglas County. I'm passionate about what I do. I think a lot of you already know that because we've chatted over the last year and a half, but I'm very passionate about what I do, and I just look forward to continuing to serve the citizens of Douglas County for another 4 years. Thank you.
Okay, I have dedicated my career to local government and being a public servant to the great people like yourselves. So that's what I consider myself, as a public servant, and I want to continue that public servant through this election. Now more than ever, we need someone to manage the county treasury due to the horrible inflation and interest rates that we're seeing right now. I am that person. I am the experienced person. It doesn't matter how big the budget was that I managed. I managed a multi-million-dollar budget, and I did it well. I also want to stop for a second while I still have time. And I want to thank my husband and my daughter is sitting in the stands for all their support. And I couldn't have done it without him, and I appreciate him. We have 3 beautiful children, and I just want to say thank you very much publicly to him for that. Thank you.
Well, thanks both of you for your time this evening. We know this is not easy. We appreciate you being here. I'm sure everyone here appreciates you being here. And I hope you can stay around so that people can ask you some more questions one-on-one. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank
Bobby.